yesterday game was horrendous, bro. I mean, it was bad. I mean, this one might be one for the ages, bro. I can't even lie. The referees just exposed their hand so bad, bro. I mean, they just didn't care no more. They didn't care if the world was watching how bad the cause was. They didn't care at all. They was going to get their issue off against the Fever no matter what. And I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what went down, bro. I mean, they got their issue off in a major way, bro. I mean, there was countless of times I could literally look at the screen and know that was a...
So lads, today the referees gave the report on the situation, and it's even worse. It's even worse than I imagined, and it was pretty grim. Like, it was a pretty grim overall.
What if I told you the real MVP of the WNBA isn't even on the court to score, but behind the whistle, stirring up more drama than a reality show finale? Buckle up, because we've uncovered footage that's so outrageous it makes a soap opera. Look tame, Caitlin Clark didn't just get fouled, she got flat out robbed. And guess what? It's all caught on camera. The ref acting like they had a personal score to settle, and the receipts? Messier than a toddler at spaghetti night. Let's get into this chow.
So lads, today the referees gave the report on the situation, and it's even worse. It's even worse than I imagined, and it was pretty grim. Like, it was a pretty grim overall. Like, it was a pretty grim overall.
Watching the WNBA and seeing how things are run, seeing how things are done. And after you've seen what it looks like to get it right, you come in and see something looking really wrong, you're going to call it out. It is what it is. You're going to be critical of players. If they do something shady or classless, you're going to call that out.
And the whistle blows again, not for a foul, not for a travel, but apparently for the crime of asterisk existing asterisk while being Caitlin Clark. Because let's be real, this isn't basketball anymore. It's a low-budget soap opera where the refs are playing cartoon villains on the side. Between the missed calls, phantom fouls, and the classic ups, didn't see that punch to the face. WNBA referees have officially gone from game officials to full-blown chaos gremlins with whistles.
Share with you guys an article that I found that honestly gives us so much insight into the WNBA referees, how they are hired, how much they make, and there's one section that really stood out to me, and they break down essentially why they are making the calls that they make, and they also talk about the influx of new fans flooding to the WNBA. They talk about Caitlin Clark a little bit. This article to me was really telling. It actually came out in January, but it was published by SB Nation, and it's entitled How WNBA Referees Are Scouted, Trained, and Held Accountable.
The audience isn't confused anymore, they're just plain exhausted. This isn't suspense, it's sabotage in slow motion. These crooked refs aren't just ruining games, they're sucking the joy out of a league that's supposed to be thriving. Fans show up for basketball, not referee-led improv theater. At this point, it's like watching a cooking competition where the judges unplug the oven mid-bake and then blame the contestant. And Caitlin Clark? She's a contestant smiling through the chaos while her three-tier masterpiece melts into a puddle of floor soup neck.
You would think with what they say coming into the season, you know, Kathy was made it her business to let them know that, you know, referees is going to be getting assessed for this next season and make sure they're making the right, proper calls. Man, at this point, we need NBA refs all the time, bro. I don't want these YMCA, junior league, high school ass referees, bro. We need real life refs because as of right now, they're costing the Indiana Fever major games that they definitely need to win.
Let's be real, Caitlin Clark looks exhausted. And not the played 40 minutes, dropped 30 points. Kind of tired. This is the deep, soul-draining kind of fatigue that comes from knowing you could drop 60 and still get called for a charge because you blinked too hard. She's carrying a franchise, a league, and half of women's basketball fandom on her back, and the refs? They're out here making sure her shoelaces are tied together every time she touches the ball.
Remember how last year started? You remember the lopsided officiating that we got last year? The All-Star break comes around, the Olympic break rolls around, and then what did we hear from Lynn Dunn? Lynn Dunn goes on the Dan Dockage show and she calls out the officiating. She calls out the referee. She calls out the WNBA. The lopsidedness that is being shown not in favor of the Indiana Fever. The clear biases when it comes to foul calls. The clear biases when it comes to not calling foul calls. Last year, it took us halfway.
Of course, she's depressed. Who wouldn't be? Imagine being world-class at your job, showing up every night to pull off miracles, only to realize your toughest opponent isn't the other team, it's the refs in stripes. These officials somehow miss actual assaults, but have no problem whistling Caitlin Clark for simply moving, like she's breaking some secret NBA no-glow-up policy. What she's going through isn't just unfair, it's absurd. It's accidentally stepped into a dimension where logic doesn't exist. Levels of wrong. And coach Stephanie White? She didn't just lose her cool, she handed it over to science for research. At one point, she looked like she was auditioning for a reboot of Asterisk, whose line is it anyway asterisk, except every sketch was titled Asterisk react to another atrocious call. Asterisk she was pacing, shouting, and turning shades of red like a human injustice thermometer. It wasn't coaching anymore, it was a live masterclass in what real-time gaslighting looks like. The refs weren't even trying to hide it. They were out there making up rules on the fly, like it was open mic jazz night at the officiating lounge next.
Holistically, I think Caitlin Clark is a really hard player to officiate, much like Diana Taurasi was throughout the course of her career, for a couple of reasons. Caitlin Clark regularly gets picked up in the full court. She also gets blitzed more over the course of her career than any player in WNBA history, or in that period of time. And she also creates some contact herself on the offensive end of the floor. She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA, and all of them said it needs...
There's no other way to put it. Caitlin Clark is being treated like she committed some unforgivable crime against basketball when all she really did was make people care about it again. The WNBA said it wanted visibility. Well, congratulations, you got it. But now the refs are squinting into the spotlight like vampires caught in sunlight, crumbling under the pressure of actual attention. They didn't expect sold-out crowds, slow-motion replays, or fans who asked questions. Now, every blown call turns into a meme within seconds. Twitter's breaking down each flop, missed foul, and logic-defying whistle like it's the Zapruder film. And somehow, it just keeps getting more ridiculous. Caitlin goes for a fast break asterisk whistle asterisk. She makes a clean steal asterisk violation asterisk. She exhales to confidently in the paint asterisk technical foul asterisk. Meanwhile, the other team's out here running a UFC clinic and getting dapped for it. It's like the refs think the WNBA is a choose-your-own-adventure book where no matter what Caitlin does, she ends up in detention. But this isn't just bad officiating, it's psychological warfare. She's a rookie playing with the composure of a 10-year vet, all while carrying a target the size of Iowa on her back.
It took us 4 games for Stephanie White to say, I've had enough. It's taken 4 games for Stephanie White to say, you know what? I've had absolute enough. Game 1, okay. Game 2, okay. Game 3, all right. But today was the last straw when it came for Stephanie White. The New York Liberty get to the free throw line 32 times. The Indiana Fever this season have a discrepancy minus 31 when it comes to free throws. That doesn't seem right.
Let's call it what it is. Caitlin Clark is being treated like she broke basketball when all she really did was revive it. The WNBA said it wanted growth, wanted visibility. Well, congratulations. You've got it, and now the referees are squinting under the spotlight like vampires at high noon, panicking under the pressure of actual attention. They didn't expect sold-out arenas. They didn't expect replay angles. They definitely didn't expect fans holding receipts. Every missed call turns into a meme in 5 seconds. Twitter has slow-mo breakdowns of every flop, every ups-I-did in single quotes t-c-that, elbow, every whistle that makes less sense than a TikTok conspiracy theory. And still it keeps escalating. Clark goes for a fast break? Whistle. Clean steal, violation, breathes too hard in the paint. Technical. Meanwhile, her opponents are out here staging WWE promos and getting dapped up like they just hit a buzzer beater. The refs act like this is a choose-your-own-adventure book where no matter what page you flip to, Caitlyn ends up in detention. And coach Stephanie White. She's not coaching anymore, she's surviving. Her sideline meltdowns are more iconic than the games themselves. Clipboard flying, face redder than a fire truck, practically screaming, "Are you serious?" Every 90 seconds. At this point, just give her a mic and call it a therapy show. Because watching your star get hacked like an Amazon password and get no whistle, that'd make anyone snap. And it's not just the optics, it's the numbers. The Liberty shot 32 free throws in one game. The Fever? They're down -31 on free throws for the season. That's not bad luck, that's a pattern. Fans aren't stupid. The boos are louder. The memes are savage, and nobody's buying the part of the game excuse anymore. The officiating is so inconsistent, it feels like it was written by a team of unpaid interns high on espresso and chaos. These refs aren't just bad, they're Olympic-level bad. Borrowed your rulebook from a coloring book bad. And when the league tries to explain it, even that makes no sense. J.C. Sheldon's foul was upgraded to a flagrant one because, and I quote, "there was a wind-up, contact to the face, and potential for injury." That's literally the definition of a flagrant 2. So, what are we doing here? Meanwhile, Caitlyn and her teammates are getting WWE suplexed in the paint, and apparently, that's just great hustle. You start to wonder, is this still basketball, or did we accidentally stumble into a parody universe where talent gets punished and mediocrity gets a standing ovation? And just when you think it can't get worse, bam! The circus dial gets cranked to 11. At one point it felt like the refs were just pulling fouls out of a hat labeled random nonsense. Caitlyn gets flattened on national TV for the third time in 5 minutes, and the refs do their best impression of a wax statue. There are crash test dummies getting more empathy. It's not a conspiracy. Yet. But if a few more games look like this, we might need to start checking for earpieces. Because how do you explain this consistent pattern of blindness from people literally paid to watch things? And where's the commissioner in all this? Nowhere. Silent, invisible, while her biggest star gets targeted, mocked, hacked, and held back. The league's leadership is a WOL. This isn't just about Caitlyn. This is about what happens when a league that wasn't built for star power suddenly gets some and doesn't know how to handle it. The refs are clinging to their control like it's the last slice of pizza, blowing calls with the confidence of people who've never been fact-checked in 4K by millions. And if it doesn't change soon, the season won't end in cheers. It'll end with fans walking away, wondering why they ever believed in the script lady in charge. You'd get a faster response from a magic 8-ball than from her office. Players get hit, fans erupt, commentators rage, and this woman radio silence. You could scream into the void and you'd get more feedback than her weekly press activity. Try finding a public comment from her, go ahead, you'll have better luck spotting Bigfoot in a referee jersey. The only thing consistent about her leadership is how consistently absent it is. Days go by, scandals pile up, questionable calls dominate headlines, and she's apparently in a coma made of apathy and beige-colored emails. You'd think she was running the league from a treehouse with no Wi-Fi penalties. Takes her longer than a sloth with a clipboard, finds only after a week-long nap and a vision quest. She reacts to basketball crises the way a tortoise reacts to a house fire, slow, confused, and somehow walking the other direction. I've said it before, and I will say it again, the WNBA as an organization is insufferable, and you would be hard-pressed to find another organization that is as committed to self-imploding as the WNBA. There is no place in basketball for somebody to be poked in the eye. And like then they're saying Caitlyn Clark is flopping. In what world is she flopping? Oh, she flailed and she fell over, for crying out loud. that girl JC Sheldon should have been kicked out of the game. She should have received a flagrant 2. There's no reason why you need to poke somebody. Listen, I get it, she's playing her hard, she's skirting her. It's basketball. Aside from the viewership and the recordship and the media, it's just a basketball game. I totally get that there's no place in basketball for like that. These WNBA refs need to figure at this point. You half expect her to show up to a press conference and ask which team Caitlyn plays for. That's how distant she feels from literally everything happening in her own league. And let's talk about this leadership style. You can even call it that she's got the charisma of a parking meter and the urgency of a screensaver. There's no spine, no voice, no accountability when coaches lose their minds over obviously rigged officiating, when fans demand answers, when footage goes viral showing Caitlyn getting tackled while the refs polish their nails. What do we hear from the commissioner? Crickets. Actual live crickets. Might as well file the incident reports. It's gotten so bad you don't even expect her to lead anymore. You just hope she knows there's a season happening. Maybe she's waiting for a carrier pigeon to bring her the game results. Maybe she's building a 5-year plan that begins with Googling what is basketball. Or maybe, just maybe, she's been given express orders not to do anything that might rock the already wobbly WNBA boat. But let's call it what it is. She needs to be fired immediately yesterday. Preferably her job is to grow the league, protect the players, and uphold the integrity of the sport. Instead, she's like a bad extra in a courtroom drama there, but barely, and always turning the wrong page. How do you have Caitlyn Clark, the biggest thing to hit women's basketball since sliced highlights, and your plan is silence? You lost control of the game. I said you lost control of the game, and here's what happened is those are allowed that type of play to happen that just opens up the rest of the game to say, do you see what I got away with? I'm going to be able to get away with other things too. And that's exactly what I said. That's a dangerous game. That is an unsafe game for players to be a part of, because it allows for the other team to make some really nasty. Maybe that's the leadership equivalent of leaving Beyonce on hold. Meanwhile, the fans are losing it. The anger is real. Every game feels like a new chapter in the referee rebellion saga, and the commissioner's chair remains colder than a Minnesota winter. Coaches are doing damage control, players are gritting through bias, and fans are left screaming into their TV screens, while the person who should be answering questions is probably off writing a memo on how to appear invisible at press events. The woman is the human embodiment of the shrug emoji, and let's not ignore what this silence enables by refusing to hold refs accountable, by failing to acknowledge the obvious bias. The league is sending a message, and that message is Caitlyn Clark, and by extension her team are fair game. Get tacked to bad, get elbowed, play through it, get disrespected, smile for the cameras, and keep selling jerseys, because the league doesn't want to protect her. It wants to use her fame, her following, her flair, but protect her, stand up for her, speak out. With the increased attention this year, there's also been increased scrutiny about the quality of refereeing. Curious if there has been any conversation about whether it's a referee pay, referee training, anything to ensure that is as good as it can be. Obviously not every, there's their humans, looking at technology, basketball is a little more complex than tennis, for instance, around technology of officiating. So we're looking at a variety of different dimensions. I know it's a passionate issue. Every fan group, One Love, when I go into market, and every fan group I meet with, they usually wait and ask it as the last question of the night, but they do ask about officiating, which that's asking too much, and the longer this goes on, the more damage it does, not just to Caitlyn or her team, but to the league's credibility. People are watching, fans are comparing notes, clips are getting analyzed frame by frame. This isn't 1998. Receipts are everywhere, and they're damning. If the league thinks it can gaslight an entire generation of basketball viewers, it's in for a brutal awakening, because the audience knows what they're seeing. They're not stupid. Maybe someone with a pulse, a Twitter account, and a calendar that doesn't skip entire weeks, because if this league wants to survive the wave of attention that Caitlyn Clark has brought, it can't be led by someone who treats every controversy like an accidental. But the players deserve better, the fans demand better, and Caitlyn Clark